McDonald's created the most iconic animatronics of the 90s and then decided to destroy and abandon them. I'm Walt, expert in animatronics. You see, in the late 90s, there was a huge animatronics boom. Everyone wanted to jump on this craze, and McDonald's was no exception. During this era, they created several animatronics, teaming up with companies like Manitron and AVG to build a whole lineup of them. Today, we're going to dive into all of these stories, the fate of several of these characters, and we'll even uncover never-before-seen footage of some of these creations. Let's start with the infamous Mac Tonight.
When the clock strikes 6:30, babe, time to head for golden lights.
So let's talk about Mac Tonight, the coolest mascot McDonald's ever made. It all started back in 1986 when a Los Angeles ad agency was trying to fix a problem for their McDonald's clients. Dinner sales were dead. The agency's president, Brad Ball, was obsessed with Mac the Knife, the classic Bobby Darin song from 1959. Funny enough, that song was originally about a murderer, but they rewrote the lyrics to be about going to McDonald's for dinner. And to sing it, they created a character, a smooth jazz pianist with a sharp suit, 1950 sunglasses, and a giant crescent moon for a head. Sound familiar? That's because he was heavily inspired by Mac's Headroom, the waxy, shades-wearing TV character that was everywhere in the 80s. The man behind the moon mask was actor Doug Jones in his very first role. Yes, the same Doug Jones who later became Hollywood's go-to creature actor in films like The Shape of Water. The ads were an instant hit. They were cool, smooth, and completely different from the colorful, kid-friendly Ronald McDonald spots, and they gave McDonald's a huge edge during the so-called Burger Wars against Wendy's and Burger King. Mac became such a phenomenon that McDonald's brought him into the restaurants themselves. Walk-around costumed characters drawing crowds of over 1,000 people. And of course, the animatronics, built by a Michigan company called Manitron, that played piano and sang for the dinner crowd. But here's where it all came crashing down. In 1989, Bobby Darin's son, Dodd Darin, sued McDonald's for $10 million, claiming they had copied his late father's voice and singing style without permission. The lawsuit was eventually dropped, but the damage was done. It basically ended Mac Tonight's reign. He made a brief comeback in 1996 and 1997, but he never recovered his cool, and in the States, he pretty much vanished. Now I have to address something, because Mac Tonight's story has a dark and unfortunate chapter. Years later, his image was hijacked online and turned into a hateful meme that pushed racist and white supremacist propaganda. Let me be clear, that meme is disgusting. It has nothing to do with the original character, and it's a shame that something so vile latched on to what was just a fun, charming mascot. Mac Tonight deserves to be remembered for what he actually was. A genuinely cool piece of advertising history and an incredible animatronic, not for a hateful meme that some awful people forced onto him. So let's give this guy the respect he deserves. And what happened to those amazing animatronics? Most were unplugged, frozen into still statues after they broke, or removed from restaurants entirely. But against all odds, one survived. And it's the real treasure of this story. To this day, at the world's largest entertainment McDonald's in Orlando, Florida, there is a fully functioning Mac Tonight animatronic, still sitting at his piano, still playing for guests, decades later. If you ever find yourself in Orlando, go see him in person, because this is genuinely one of the last living pieces of 80s animatronic advertising left on Earth. Sunday the dog! Okay, this next one is barely an animatronic, but its story is too good and too creepy to leave out. Meet Sunday, Ronald McDonald's talking dog. Now, if you don't remember Sunday, that's because he wasn't in the regular commercials. He showed up in the live action parts of those bizarre direct-to-video tapes from the late 90s called The Wacky Adventures of Ronald McDonald. And here's where it gets wild. Sunday was played by none other than Vern Troyer, yes, Mini-Me from Austin Powers, who actually climbed inside the costume like a fursuit, with a zipper down the belly and handles inside the paws so he could walk around on all fours. But the head and the tail? Those were fully animatronic, moving mechanically while Vern operated the body. And honestly, the result is pure nightmare fuel. A dead-eyed, monotone clown dog whose most famous line was, and I'm not kidding, "Can't we just have a normal adventure? Same energy as all of us." But here's the real mystery. The original Sunday costume actually survived, and today it's in the hands of our friend Cavity Sam, who's been working hard to restore him. The problem? The two animatronic parts, the head and the tail, are both gone. Cavity Sam believes the original animatronic head may have been destroyed on purpose, which is something companies often do with mascot costumes to avoid copyright issues. So what's left is the foam latex body, the paws, the ears, and just a paint test cast of the face, while the actual animatronic head has vanished, possibly forever. And get this, after decades in obscurity, McDonald's actually brought Sunday back in 2025 for the McDonaldland meal campaign and the Kerwin Frost box. So the dog is officially back, but his original animatronic head is still out there somewhere, lost to time. If you've ever seen anything about that missing head, you know what to do. Send it our way. Olly Oak. Okay, so we have to revisit Olly Oak because there's been a huge update. The last time we covered this creepy singing hamburger tree, there were a ton of unanswered questions, and honestly, a lot of doubts. The biggest one? Whether Olly's mouth actually moved at all. In every piece of footage we had, he just sat there, frozen and broken, with maybe his eyelids twitching, which led a lot of people to believe the tree never really talked, that maybe the burgers did all the singing while Olly just stared blankly. Well, we can finally put that to rest because new footage has surfaced and it confirms everything. But first, in case you missed it, let's go over the whole story. Olly Oak was one of the strangest animatronics McDonald's ever made. A giant talking tree that grew hamburgers right out of his branches. It's almost like they wanted to convince us that their burgers were as healthy as fruit. Olly lived at McDonald's old corporate headquarters in Oak Brook, Illinois, and that's exactly where he got his name, Oak for Oak Brook. His face is absolutely terrifying, squished flat against the wall, giving off serious body horror vibes like something straight out of The Thing or Alien. Now here's what the new footage confirms. Olly absolutely did talk. His mouth, his eyes, and his eyelids all moved. The little hamburgers growing out of his branches moved and sang too, perfectly in time with him. And remember that wild claim that a Hamburglar figure would pop out of the leaves during the show? That's confirmed too. It was all real. So this whole thing was a fully functioning, fully animated show, exactly like the witnesses always said. And now we finally have the proof. Honestly, seeing Olly actually alive and moving is even creepier than the broken version. Nobody knows what happened to him after Oak Brook, whether he was scrapped, stored, or lost forever. But at least now we know the truth about how he really worked. As terrifying as he was, I'd give anything for McDonald's to bring back stuff like this. Today, everything is just minimalistic and generic. They've completely lost that weird, cool 90s magic they used to have. Happy Meal, Ronald. Some of you millennial subscribers, like us, will remember how it used to be super common to walk into a McDonald's and see a Ronald McDonald statue just sitting there on a bench. That Ronald was an absolute classic, super creepy, and the source of a million playground urban legends. We all heard the same story growing up, that those Ronald statues came to life at night. Well, it seems like McDonald's decided to make those nightmares real, because back in the 90s, a handful of locations actually got animatronic Ronald McDonald shows. Basically, McDonald's trying to do their own Chuck E. Cheese. Here's how it worked. Kids would press a button, and Ronald would come to life and sing a few musical numbers, surrounded by ceiling-mounted speakers. There was even a talking hamburger that was honestly kind of cool, but the disturbing part was everything else. His weirdly stiff body, the strange, jerky way he turned his head, and the unsettling way his mouth just opened and closed out of sync. Not much is really known about these things, and according to one article, there were only about 5 of them ever made, though even that number is still debated on old internet forums. Now, according to some super reliable sources, and by that I mean my friend's cousin and some bro who told me, these animatronics were so terrifying that customers started avoiding the restaurants that had them, which is supposedly why they got taken out. And here's where the story really splits in two. Most of these Ronalds did not have a happy ending. Thanks to a video from Set Street, we can see one of them tucked away in the corner of a McDonald's, in a truly sorry state, almost like it's being punished for its past crimes. The poor thing is so worn out that its eyes have faded completely white, pure nightmare fuel. But against all odds, one of them actually survived in beautiful condition. Thanks to the Fast Food Museum, a private collector dedicated to preserving fast food history, we can see one of these Ronald animatronics fully preserved, looking exactly like it did back in the day. Same animatronic, two completely different fates. One rotting in a corner, the other treated like the piece of history it actually is. Rory the Lion. Now speaking of Mac Tonight, his story doesn't quite end there, because one of those animatronics came back as something completely different. And this one might be the rarest McDonald's animatronic ever made, with barely any footage out there. Meet Rory the Lion. Rory only ever appeared at a single McDonald's location in Plainview, New York. And here's the wildest part. Rory was actually a retrofit of a Mac Tonight animatronic. That's right, they took one of the original moon-headed piano players and completely transformed him into a lion. They gave him a mane, sunglasses, soft fur, brand new clothes, the whole deal. But if you looked closely at how he moved, you could still tell Mac was underneath it all. Rory was part of a fully automated show. He sat at his keyboard and moved his head, arms, torso, and mouth, all perfectly synced to smooth, lounge-style music. And the strangest part? Nobody really knows why he was made. He was never part of McDonald's official character lineup. He never appeared in a single national campaign. It seems like he was just a local experiment, and a very ambitious one. So what happened to Rory? When that McDonald's was eventually remodeled, he simply vanished. No one knows if he was scrapped, sold, or if he's sitting in some dusty warehouse right now, waiting to be found. And this is where we need your help. Rory is so rare that there is almost no footage of him anywhere. So if you, or someone you know, ever saw Rory in person in Plainview, New York, or if you have any photos or video of him, please send it our way. You could be holding one of the only surviving records of one of the rarest animatronics in McDonald's history. Did you even know this guy existed? Because I was floored when I found out. Ronald McDonald in a hot air balloon. Now, remember that creepy Ronald show? Well, there's an even stranger Ronald McDonald animatronic out there. And unlike a lot of the stuff on this channel, this one isn't lost media. And it's definitely not a lost animatronic. This is the weirdest Ronald McDonald of them all. Ronald McDonald in a hot air balloon, created by set makers and AVG Technologies back in 1984. Picture this. A big wall-mounted display showing Ronald and 3 fry guys floating inside a gondola, hanging from hot air balloons decorated with string lights, with a spotlight shining on Ronald from inside the balloon itself. And right below it was a planter area with a little hamburger patch, plus tables and seating where kids could eat right in front of the show. The movement was powered by pressurized air, using a technology that AVG branded as Theatronics. And it made Ronald's head, eyes, mouth, and right arm all move in sync to a recorded voice and music track. Fun fact, this whole thing actually started back in 1982 as a totally different concept called the McBurgers, which was just 4 singing hamburgers in a hamburger patch, before it evolved into the balloon version. Now, for the longest time, there was basically only one known photo of this animatronic. We knew it had been set up in a few locations around the country, and we knew the original show tapes, the actual audio, were lost. But since we last covered this, a bunch of brand new discoveries have come to light that nobody had ever shown before. First, concept art surfaced, revealing exactly what the show looked like and how it was staged, with the animatronic in the center and the tables right in front of it. Then came more photos of the actual animatronic, along with the original blueprints and artist drawings from set makers showing how it worked on the inside. And the most amazing part? We now know exactly where this Ronald ended up. It was originally rescued from the trash by a collector. Back in 1999, you can see it appear on the TV show The Appraisal Fair, where it was valued between $2,000 and $3,000, and it later showed up on the show Collector's Call. But then that collector put it up for auction, and it found a brand new owner, a collector named Aaron Kewis. And Aaron has been showing off incredible new photos of it, calling it the only known complete Ronald McDonald hot air balloon animatronic in existence. The stuff nightmares are made of. But here's the best part. Aaron is now looking for someone who really knows animatronics to help him get Ronald working again. So think about that. This bizarre singing Ronald floating in a balloon that most people thought was gone forever was saved from a dumpster, passed down between collectors, and now might actually move and sing again for the first time in decades. Another mystery solved, and honestly, one of the happiest endings we've ever covered on this channel. And hey, if anyone out there knows how to restore animatronics, maybe you could be the one to bring Ronald back to life. And that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. You guys are the best. We'll see you in the next one.